How's your day going today? Hi there, we're Why Is That? And welcome to our podcast series that often starts with why questions based on the first principles thinking approach. This gives you multi-dimensional perspectives on various issues in life. So, to truly embrace life with us, let's dive into this episode. The guy and the girl met online and connected instantly. The girl excitedly told her best friend how much she was looking forward to this relationship, thrilled about the day they would finally meet. Yet, after their first dinner, the girl came home to her best friend, sighing, "I don't know why, but it just felt off. He was still as funny as he was online, and we had the exact same taste in music and movies. But when we ordered food, he was just something." As soon as the waiter handed him the menu, he immediately ordered what he liked, without asking what I wanted to try. When the food arrived, he instantly served the first piece to himself. He even opened and poured his own water. Her friend clicked her tongue. "Well, you have hands and a mouth, you've always done things yourself. If you wanted to eat something, you should have said so. Or maybe you said, 'I'll eat anything,' so he just ordered on his own initiative." The girl shook her head. Not to mention, during the meal, he wiped his hands countless times, must have used a dozen wet wipes. He even asked the staff to re-rinse the plates and chopsticks with hot water to be sure. Her friend forced a smile. "Actually, being careful and clean isn't a bad thing. Just go on a few more dates and see." The girl replied, "I know, but it just feels like something is wrong." Still, she listened to her friend and gave the guy another chance. They dated more often, their meetings becoming more frequent. However, just as the girl had felt, there was something off about this relationship. After about a few months, the couple broke up. When asked why they ended things, the girl waved her hand dismissively. It was the eating habits from the very beginning. His income was average, but he wanted to eat out every day, always choosing expensive restaurants. "We always split the bill. He never once treated me. One time I suggested cooking at home, and he complained the rice was dry and he wasn't used to it. At the end of the meal, I said, 'Let me clean up,' and he immediately agreed, then went to sit and watch TV, leaving me to clean alone." Everyone says eating is a trivial matter. How can it determine the bond between two people? But honestly, when I commit to someone, it means I want to sit and eat with them every day for the rest of my life. If our eating habits don't match, it's incredibly uncomfortable. But there are so many reasons to break up. Why does it always come back to eating? People break up because of incompatible personalities, because they're not equals, or because they've lost feelings. I've never seen anyone break up just because their eating habits didn't align. It was then that the girl explained why the issue of eating was so extremely important to her. It was because of her sister-in-law. For nearly 10 years since her sister-in-law married her brother, she had almost single-handedly prepared every meal. There were always dishes her husband liked, yet her brother would just bury his face in his food. Fine, let's say he was a man of few words, but he would also eat and complain, grumbling about how tasteless his wife's cooking was, how this dish wasn't quite right, the soup was too bland, or the fish stew was impossibly salty. The girl felt exasperated witnessing this scene every single day. Never, in hundreds of meals, had her brother ever said a single, "Thank you, wife." And sadly, his eating habits reflected his personality. Outside the home, her brother would also criticize and belittle everyone, both family and strangers alike, selfish and incredibly arrogant. That's why I always avoid people I don't feel comfortable eating with. If you want to know if two people are compatible, just eat one meal together and you'll know instantly. Is it truly possible to see through a person just by sharing a meal? Saying, "just one meal," might be an exaggeration, but I can confidently say that if two people are compatible, they will always make time to sit and eat together. And it's true, through one's eating style, we can somewhat understand a person's character. Why is that? There's a proverb that says, "A person standing has a standing posture, sitting has a sitting posture, and eating has an eating posture." Here, eating posture refers to a person's mannerisms and demeanor while eating. No matter how serious a person may seem, their true self will be revealed when faced with a lavish meal filled with delicious food. Every action a person takes in daily life can be disguised, forced, or used to cover their true inner self. However, table manners are fundamentally something that cannot be hidden. Eating is also when a person is usually in their most relaxed and natural state, simultaneously revealing their daily habits. A dish, a meal, every word and gesture, every detail can reflect a person's cultivation and temperament. Surely, many hearing this will scoff and click their tongues. Isn't eating simply to fill your stomach? Why be so elaborate? Allow me to explain. Although eating seems like just a process of filling one's stomach, in reality, it can reveal a person's true nature. Therefore, in many cases, we can understand people simply by observing how they eat. First, eating habits reveal a person's upbringing. As children, many of us were likely taught by our parents things like this. Before you eat, offer the meal to the elders first. Pick up one piece at a time, don't use your chopsticks to rummage through the dishes. Chew properly before speaking. Eat slowly, chew thoroughly and gracefully, don't slurp or chew noisily. If you waste food, you'll turn into a chicken or a duck, scavenging for what you threw away. And these were the teachings of grandparents and parents, basic lessons about table etiquette in Vietnamese families for generations. Back then, children often didn't pay much attention to these instructions. They might have followed them only out of fear of being punished rather than enjoying their meal, without truly understanding why adults had to be so strict and why they had to pay attention to so many minor details. But once they entered society, when they had more opportunities to go out into the wider world and meet more types of people, they truly understood the importance of table manners. A person's upbringing is often reflected in their eating style. Good table manners not only adhere to sitting posture and eating methods, but also show thoughtfulness and care for those dining with them. If we pay more attention, we'll discover that a meal can reveal a person's true growth process. Specifically, let's observe 3 characteristics. The first is behavior before the meal. When ordering, if someone constantly grumbles at the server or acts haughtily, this reflects an arrogant personality that likes to bully the weak. Moreover, when dining with someone, respect for you is shown by whether they ask for your opinion before ordering. Conversely, asking and letting you choose first is a sign of thoughtfulness and appreciation. This is when dining out. For home-cooked meals, try observing whether the wife asks her husband's opinion on what he'd particularly like to eat before he leaves for work so she can prepare it. When the husband returns home, he smells the delicious food filling the kitchen, and even before tasting it, he praises profusely. "Oh, just smelling it makes me so hungry, my dear. This is my favorite dish. I'll have several bowls of rice today." Such a simple statement before a meal can make the family atmosphere so much warmer, compared to a husband who stays silent or sometimes even utters vague complaints like, "Why does it smell so salty before we've even eaten?" Or, "Why is dinner so late today? This is no way to have a lunch break. I should have just eaten at the office." Furthermore, before starting a meal, a person with good table manners will always look around, paying attention to hierarchy and order. This isn't about being overly complex or fussy, but rather the minimum respect for elders and adults in the family, at home and in public. The second is the other person's behavior asterisk during the meal. Some people like to eat small bites and swallow slowly. Some almost gobble everything down. Some browse their phones while eating. Some value etiquette when eating, while others make a mess. The best eating posture is one of grace and cleanliness. Although one might finish a dish quickly, the eating process should not be rude or vulgar. Those who frequently devour food hastily often reveal an impatient, hot-headed personality, always wanting to get things over with. Conversely, those who eat slowly, keeping their dining space clean, often show that they appreciate tidiness and cherish every small moment. While we know eating habits can only reflect a part of one's personality, we shouldn't judge based on a single aspect. However, these are details we need to pay attention to, as they truly affect those around us and partly determine their attitude of respect towards us. We have a female colleague who habitually pokes around in her food with her chopsticks. If she doesn't like a dish, she'll often use her chopsticks to push the food to the side of the plate. One day, the whole company group went out for spicy and sour stir-fried squid. Because she didn't like bell peppers, she used her chopsticks to push them aside, picking out only the pieces she liked to eat. It looked very unappetizing. Not to mention, every time food was served, she would quickly scoop into her bowl. If it was a dish she liked, she would heavily scoop, even before finishing what was already in her bowl. She might dress elegantly and act politely at the table, but with such eating habits, it was difficult for those around her to truly respect her. Finally, there is behavior after the meal. After finishing a meal, a person's polite and refined demeanor is clearly shown through small but meaningful actions. They gently stack their bowls and chopsticks, wipe their mouths clean, maintain a neat appearance, and keep the dining table tidy. Before leaving the table, they don't forget to express sincere thanks to the host, the cook, or offer a grateful smile and nod to the serving staff, as a way of appreciating the effort and care put into the meal. Furthermore, eating just enough, without wasting or leaving leftover food, not only demonstrates consciousness, but also reflects gratitude towards food. These subtle gestures are expressions of a person's cultivated manners and respect for others, as well as for themselves. In the film Spirited Away, the bathhouse owner tested Chihiro with a bento box to decide whether to hire her for the bathhouse. Elders are always wise at seeing through children, but Chihiro passed the test with her inherent goodness because that's just who she was. She happily ate everything. The girl ate everything, even the shrimp tails, the skin flaking off the mackerel and miso. Anyone who enjoys a meal like that cannot be a bad person. And it's true. Chihiro picked up her chopsticks with the words, "Itadakimasu," meaning, "I am very grateful and humbly receive this meal." And after eating, she put down her chopsticks with a thank you for a delicious meal, fulfilling her duty towards the food and the person who made it for her. Having said that, eating is essentially for our own comfort. We can't achieve absolute perfection, and no one will just scrutinize how someone eats or their table manners to judge every other aspect of their being. So, don't be too rigid or judgmental. Observe them in other aspects as well to understand them better. Without discussing reading personality through eating habits, there's one thing I can bet on. Everything on the dining table is a mirror reflecting a couple's relationship. Whether a couple is happy, whether their relationship is strong, you can tell just by glancing at their home meals. Through meals, we can see both partners' eating preferences and whether they can reconcile their differences. Some people, even if it's not their favorite dish, are still willing to sit and eat with you, genuinely wanting to share the bitter, spicy, sweet, and savory moments with you. Some people will go to great lengths, climb mountains, and dive into seas just to share a joyful meal with the one they love. A meal where the meat is a little salty can be accompanied by a glass of water and 2 smiles. Meanwhile, a delicious meal consumed without empathy can only be eaten with tears. An unhappy family has no mind for eating. That's why it's not about what you eat or where you eat, but who you eat with. People in love are meant to eat together their whole lives. So, if you want a long-lasting life together, whether you can eat together is a very important matter. Although eating may seem like a trivial matter at first glance, remember that big things must start with details. Small actions determine success or failure. For a person, a single action can reveal their true heart. How grand love is expressed through those small things. Eating isn't just to fill your stomach, it's to express the love you have for each other. A kitchen with smoke and fire, a living room with laughter, a bedroom with hugs. What more happiness could there be, right?